is A to Z with Mark Zinno, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, where today I tell you this has disaster written all over it. Welcome in. We are live here on this Thursday, one day closer to a long Labor Day weekend. Appreciate you guys joining me here on A to Z. Give me a follow on Twitter at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. Of course, follow the entire network at Locked On ATL. Lots to get to here, including news that I knew was coming, but I still hate that it's here. And Georgia, Oregon getting one day closer. A lot to look forward to there as well. I wanted to start with the Atlanta Braves because they snapped their three-game losing streak last night as they beat the Colorado Rockies 3-2. Kyle Wright gets his 17th win. And while it felt good to, get back in the win column and obviously not lose another game to the Colorado Rockies, the Mets also won last night. So that keeps the Braves right where they are in the standings, behind the New York Mets in the chase for the NL East. Right now, they sit at 3 games back. They got their 80th win of the year. So everything seems like, it's falling right back where it needs to be. Two things. One, let's start with Kenley Jansen last night, who gave up a 2-run bomb. It was a 3-0 lead into the ninth. And it's funny because I had on one of the gambling shows I do, I had given out the Braves -1.5 on the run line. And after Austin Riley hit the 2-run homer in the first, I'm starting to feel good. And then they're 3-0. I'm sitting here going, oh, they're going into the ninth. I literally changed the channel. I literally stopped watching the game because I was like, Jansen's going to come in, close the door, we'll get out of here, and we'll cover this -1.5 on the run line. Was not to be. Jansen gives up a 2-run homer, and Braves win by 1 and lose it. And the only thing I think that's alarming about it is, look, I get that guys are going to blow saves. Closers, it's going to happen to them. There's no getting around it. We've said this repeatedly. But it's how you come to the next one. Are you clean right through? Do you just mow them down 1, 2, 3, and everything looks like it went back into place where it was supposed to go? I think that, to me, is one of the bigger marks of your closer and how good they're going to be or how consistent they can be, how much you can trust them, because you're going to have situations where you slip up. It's just baseball. The numbers will always dictate that nobody's going to be 100% perfect through an entire season. It's really, really, really hard. And so from that standpoint, the fact that Jansen gave up a 2-run bomb was a little bit disconcerting. Am I worried? No. Is it in the back of my mind that maybe one more of these could be a little bit more of an issue than we expect? Yeah. That's kind of where I am right now. And it's a bad time to have it happen because it's not exactly like you have a whole lot of time to fix things, right? This happens in April or May. You're like, okay, take him out of the role for a little bit, let him work setup, bring him back in, let us see if he can feel comfortable and everything else. You're in the middle of a pennant race right now. You can't, you can't 100%, make a change like this down the stretch. Of all things you want to be solidified right now, your bullpen has to be there. I mean, you could spot start anybody down the stretch if you need to. If your bullpen is trustworthy, then you're going to be good. So the Jansen thing, to say the least, a little bit disconcerting is the word that I'll use. The other thing that is more than disconcerting at this point, I've talked about it several times already, is something I think that is ultimately going to play out poorly. I'll tell you what that is in a moment, but first a word from our friends at BetOnline.net, the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your betting needs. Find your favorite sports and events and at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. That's BetOnline.net. You'll find reviews for every league, news of every league, Major League Baseball, talk about the playoff push, NFL right around the corner, college football here already, and more this weekend, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, podcasts, they've got you covered. And, of course, you can come to me. I use betonline.net, so I get a lot of my information from there. If you're hearing it from me, you know where you're getting it from. You head to BetOnline today, or use your mobile device to learn more about the action that's happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay. Once again, we are getting reports after a Braves game about Ronald Acuna's knee. Now, Acuna returned to the lineup after 3 games off. Coincidentally, the Braves lost all 3 of those games. He DH'd last night, hit a home run, turned out to be a pretty pivotal one, as it was the game-winning home run. And he said after a game through an interpreter that his knee feels, quote, terrible. Now, laughing when he said it, he was joking around, and this is again according to Dave O'Brien of The Athletic, but clearly, making a point to say that it bothers him. He said, "We're going to play through it until the season's over. If it feels good it feels good to be able to help and support the team. But most important thing is we won the game." Okay, I don't like any of this. This feels like it has disaster written all over it. As I said a moment ago, if this was May, he'd be on the IL. There's not a doubt in my mind. If this was May, he'd be on the IL. Because we have turned the calendar to September, happy September, everybody. Because we have turned the calendar to September, and they are in the thick of a pennant race, trying to snatch back the NL East and win it again, Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to play through this. Now, everyone will say immediately, Zinno, of course he needs to play through it. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you get paid for. That's why you get paid big bucks, so you can play through the pain. And that's what we expect of athletes, play through the pain. That's fair. Playing through the pain with something like this could come at a cost that is more costly than what you're doing. Now, again, some of this flies right in the face of things that I've said. You win as many World Series as you can. You treat every year like you've never won the World Series. You play as hard as you can for as long as you can to win as much as you can. I agree. I'm not backing off that stance. And I'm not sitting here saying, well, just shut him down. You won the World Series without him last year. You're not a better team without Ronald Acuna. But something about this feels as terrible as Ronald Acuna's knee. I don't like it. I don't want this to be the beginning of the story that ends with, quote, he was never the same again. I mean, this is the cornerstone piece of your franchise. Now, again, I don't know. I think there's ways they can work around this. Can they DH him? Does it make him feel better? Maybe. But if you DH him, now you're running into a whole different set of problems for Brian Snitker that the lineup has to deal with, right? Which is, again, Ozzie Albies coming back, and we thought Vaughn Grissom could DH. Now, where is he going to go? And it's all over the place, man. It is a very, very tough situation to deal with, and I am praying it doesn't go down that road. But it feels like we are headed for that level of story this offseason. Everybody keeps saying that there's nothing to indicate that his knee would be bad or would need to be operated on again this offseason. Nobody knows that for sure, and you won't know till the season's over. Let's hope he can keep it together. One other quick note on the Braves, and Brian Snitker brought this up, and I'd love to dive into this deeper at some point. But Brian Snitker basically said, quote, we hit homers and we strike out. I mean, you look at the stats, it's pretty evident that's just kind of the way we are. Take it from somebody who watched a team do that for like a decade, hit home runs or strike out. You don't win a lot of World Series doing that. And being a Yankee fan, you get used to that, and it's kind of annoying. And I only bring this up to say, I hope that's not the case when they get to the playoffs. When you face really good pitching, guess what happens? You strike out more than you hit home runs. That's problematic. And when you do hit home runs, they're typically solo home runs. Not a lot of dudes are on base. Write this down in your mental Rolodex and leave it there. And I hope I don't end up saying I told you so. But if that's the philosophy going into the playoffs, there is some concern about the viability to end up winning another World Series. It's a bad offensive philosophy, and it always will be. Trust me. All right, coming up next, this is news I knew was coming. I hate that it's coming. I hate the news, but I'm just going to have to live with it. That's next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, search Locked On Sports Atlanta.